I'm Elisa Patriarca. I'm from EUROCROWD team, and we will see together in this first session a general introduction of crowdfunding. So what crowdfunding is, how it is defined, which are the main actors involved, and what kind of models we have, mechanism involved, and then we moved on to the civic crowdfunding model, which is kind of an hybrid that we will see later, and what are the main differences between crowdfunding and civic crowdfunding, and what's the role that public authorities can play in this model. Then we move on the difference between, sorry, I already said it. Okay, so then we move on to the second module, which is basically how to run a crowdfunding campaign. So we will go more in the detail, seeing the phases of the crowdfunding campaign and how to describe a project, how to define its objective, the budgets, the goals, and how we can select the right crowdfunding model, how we can select the most suitable platform, and we go through the communication strategy, the stakeholder map. A lot of concepts are in these 2 hours. I hope that I won't lost you, but at any time you can raise your hands and you say, oh, I'm not understanding anymore, so we can just take a deep breath and then try to understand. Because it's important to at least understand all these concepts, because tomorrow you will do kind of practical session where they will be useful for you in this session. So, at the end of the first session, before lunch, we will also see how to engage the crowd, how to build a community, how to identify and engage this community, and how to implement the communication strategy. So it's super practical concepts, and then we can start. Okay, let's see first what crowdfunding is. So what's the definition of crowdfunding? Konstantinos and Oliver already said something about it, but I would like to give to you the theoretical definition. So crowdfunding is a way of raising funds, so a financing tool, to finance projects and businesses. It enables fundraising to collect money from a large number of people via internet-based platform. We have 3 elements that we have to underline. The fact that it's a financial tool, so I use it to raise money, okay? So I don't have to be scared to ask for money. And the fact that it allows you to gain money from a large group of people instead of from a small number of people that has to consider if your project is a valuable project or not to be financed, like such for the European funds or for the bank loan. And it happens on internet. I mean, this exchange of money happens through internet-based platform. And is crowdfunding if in return for the contribution, the crowd, supporters, or investors receive returns. Which we will see that the kind of returns depend on what kind of crowdfunding model we will choose for our campaign. Okay, let's see what are the main actors involved. As you can see, we have the project owner, which is the one who has an idea and wants to, and is looking for funds. The project owner is in charge to define the project idea, choose the business model, and is in charge to do the crowdfunding campaign, to keep the relations with the supporter, while on the other hand, the supporters are the crowd, so those who financially support our idea and our project with different amount of money, but also with just supporting activities, like sharing our project to his contacts, or sharing through the internet web pages or social media, so we will see it later. And they can be individuals, but also company, organization, public administration, and so on. And the third actor is the platform. So there's not crowdfunding without a crowdfunding platform. fundraising that you can see on Facebook or on social media, it's just fundraising, it's not crowdfunding, okay? So the platform is basically the market in which this transaction happened, and it facilitates the contribution between supporters and project owner. We will see later on that each platforms operate in a different way, and that we have to consider a lot of indicators in order to choose the most suitable platform for our project. Okay, let's now move on to the crowdfunding model. Okay, we have non-financial models, because at the basis of these models, you don't have a financial instrument, which are donation and reward. I will try to go fast on this, because they already present the crowdfunding model, so I don't want to bother you too much. Okay, so I want to underline the fact that in donation, we don't have tangible returns to deliver to our crowd. And usually they donate or they contribute to our campaign because they feel close to our project, okay? It's like a philanthropic motivation. Maybe we are running a crowdfunding campaign where we want to deliver, I don't know, computers to child that doesn't have the money to buy one, and we feel close to that cause, so we decided spontaneously to donate. And it is potentially open to all type of project and to all type of backers, because there's not, it's not complicated model, and you can easily go on whatever donation platform, choose the project that you like the most and donate. And the relation between the crowd and the project owner is just a punctual relations, because it's end in the same times that the money were transferred. So the project owner doesn't have any duty, instead of returns, instead of loan with investors, to get something back for the financial support. I put also the average of the money that crowdfunding campaigns collect for each model, so you can have also this information. And for donation campaigns, on average, it's like 8K, and yeah, that's it. Moving to the reward model, the reward model is a model who provide to the supporters tangible or intangible returns. What does it mean? It doesn't mean that if I'm running my own crowdfunding campaign on a reward platform, I will have to think about which kind of reward I want to give back to my supporters. They could be tangible or intangible returns. That means that I can do, I can give to you back a gadget, or I can let you experience something which is related to my project. So I have also to think about it, and it has difference between the donation and reward, because also in the moment that I think my crowdfunding campaign, I have to think about how many rewards I want to provide, how many, and think about it also in a way that I have to be prepared to deliver this kind of rewards. Usually, crowd donate or invest or support this kind of project, part because they support your cause, but also because they are interested in having the return back. So it works like an incentive to them to donate. And it's a model which is open to all type of project. And it could be closed to some category. I mean, during my pre-campaign phase, I can think about mapping some specific audience or target group which are related to my project. I mean, if I'm doing a project like for, I don't know, a film festival that I know which cover one specific territory. I can map all the organization and all the stakeholders in that area, and I will use the closest proximity in order to get them involved. The relationship between the project owner and the crowd, it's a short-term relationship because it ended at the time that the project owner will deliver the reward that he promised. And the average amount of money that usually crowdfunding reward campaign collect is between 20 and 30K. Let's now move on to the financial model, because we call it like this because at the basis of this model we have on one side the investment and on the other side the loan financial instrument. And equity is dedicated basically to startup and small and medium enterprises that are not well positioned within the market. And it's based on the return on investment that the project owner will think to return to the investors in terms of an exit strategy or in terms of the share of the firms itself. And so the investors decide to support this kind of campaigns just for the financial or economical return. And as I said before, it is the model which is most used by startup, and because investors have a high risk of investment in this kind of organization or project, because they are not sure that the startups, once raise the funds, it will be able to raise, to grow, and to get the money that he planned. It is an open-ended relation between the project owner and the crowd, because if I invest in your company, which has to be set, which has to be launched on the market, I'm not sure that you can repay me, or you can return my investment in a specific time, and that you can do the project that you are proposing. So that's why it's an open-ended relations. And the average amount of money that usually equity crowdfunding campaign raises around 100K. Let's see the last model. I hope that you're not getting confused from all this information, and which is the lending model, where the motivation is still a finance and an economic motivation, and in exchange for their support, investors have also money, but in a fixed term of time and on an interest rate that is defined at the beginning of the crowdfunding campaign. It is open to small and medium enterprises which already are on the market, and that they can ensure to their investors a background and a growth during the years. Then they can ensure to investors that they can repay the investment in 3 or 5 years with a specific interest rate, which is, I don't know, 5%, 7%. And so it's a medium and defined term relationship between the project owner or the organization and the investors, and usually they rise between 350 and 500K. Euro, of course, I put euro, but. Okay, if you're not so confused and if there are no questions, maybe there's some question from the audience that want to know a bit more about the models. Otherwise, I will move on trying to explain to you the differences between crowdfunding model, between crowdfunding and civic crowdfunding. Okay, let's see the definition of civic crowdfunding. Civic crowdfunding is a subcategory of crowdfunding through which citizens, often in collaboration with government or public administration, propose, fund, and deliver projects that aim at provide an impact on communities. Okay, and that's are a lot of things that changed between the crowdfunding definition and the civic crowdfunding definition, because we have one more actor which is involved in these initiatives, which is the public authority or the public organization, or in general public funds. This is useful because citizens can feel closer the project that they are supporting, because they are projects that had a direct impact on the local communities, on the local development, and also on sometimes the economic, social, and cultural growth. Let's see the role that public authority can have in this kind of initiatives. You have here the same slide that I showed you before with the actors involved, and we added the public authority role, which usually activates and combines public funds from the public budget to crowdfunding funds. And they can participate into crowdfunding initiatives in different ways, and now we will see how and which role they can play. And Francesca this afternoon will present to you some case studies about civic crowdfunding and match funding. So I just give to you some insights on the theoretical part. Roles of public authority. Okay, we can see that public authority can play different roles. Sponsor is when the public authority decides to run its own crowdfunding campaign for a specific project on an existing civic crowdfunding platform. So me, as, I don't know, the municipality of somewhere, decide to select a crowdfunding campaign because I have a project that I maybe don't have enough money to cover with the public funds. So maybe I miss, I don't know, 20k euro, and I want to do this kind of co-financing between my own resources and crowdfunding resources. So I just decide to pick one platform and run my own crowdfunding campaign. Curator is when the local authority selects a list of projects that reflects their political agenda from an existing crowdfunding platform. So me, as a public authority, decide to go to the crowdfunding platform, see the project, and if I find some project that has the same goal of my political objective, I just decide to contribute to their realization. Facilitator is where subnational governments or public authority financially support the crowdfunding campaign that then will be published on crowdfunding platform. This is kind of tricky because me, as public authority, I decide to co-finance some project that will raise money through crowdfunding, okay? So maybe I have 10 projects that I want to co-finance because I want them to be realized, but I want that they will raise part of the funds through crowdfunding. So maybe they will raise 500, too much, 20, I don't know, 22,000, 10,000, 20,000 euro from crowdfunding platform, and then I just contribute to with my public resources to the realization of the project, covering the remaining part of the budget of the project. At the end, the manager, the public authority as manager, create its own generic crowdfunding platform to foster the development in its local area. So me, as the municipality of X, decided just to open a crowdfunding platform and to get the chance to all the organizations which are operating in my territory to run their own crowdfunding campaign on my platform. Okay? Let's see which kind of schemes we can find when the public funds and the crowdfunding funds match. Okay? We have different types of schemes. The first thing is when the public authority finance the crowdfunding campaign at the beginning, so at the launch of the crowdfunding campaign. Bridging is when the amount of money that the public authority provides to the project comes in between the launch and the end of the crowdfunding platform. Top up is when the public authority just decide to give all the amount of money that they decided to use to contribute to the project at the end of the crowdfunding campaign. So maybe if you have a crowdfunding campaign and you reach your financial goal, then I will add my public money to your project because the crowd decided that kind of project is a valuable project that needs to be realized. And at the end, the last scheme is the one-to-one, which is basically for each euro or each, I don't know, money collected from the crowd, the public authority cover €1 more. So it kind of 50-50 financing model, because if I raised €5,000 from the crowd, the public authority will put €5,000, so I collected €10,000, which is the amount that I needed to realize my project. Okay, let's move on, seeing what are the advantages in using crowdfunding in this as an alternative source of finance. We have more flexible amount and conditions because we are not saying, or we are not signing anything. We are just deciding to run our crowdfunding campaign. It could be a successful campaign, but I can also fail. And I don't have to, I didn't wrote something or I didn't sign something that I have to deliver actions, services to someone. I'm just collecting money, and I am free to change the amount of money that I need, or maybe I am free to change the, let me explain it better. When you do like calls for European funds, you have to write a lot of things, documents, because you have to specify how many money you need and how this money will be used. And at the end of the project, you also have to say to them, hey, I used them for all the things that I have done. With crowdfunding, you have just to be accountable for the crowd, which is not a few things, but you have just to think about how many money I need for my project and how I want to use them. But if at some times of your project something went wrong and you have to reschedule your budget, or you need more money, or you are not using that money for the communication strategy, but you're using their money because you want to provide another service, you are free to do this kind of adjustment, but you have to make aware all your community that you are doing this kind of activities. We have less risk for investors, or at least diluted, because if I have just one investor that is giving me money for my project, and if I have different investors, of course, I have a diluted risk for them. Shorter time frame compared to the traditional funding source, because more or less a crowdfunding campaign is online between 1 month and 2 months. So if I have done a good job planning and implementing my crowdfunding campaign, I can raise the amount of money that I need in a couple of months. And these were the financial or economic advantages. Now we see the non-economic advantages, because crowdfunding could be used and useful also for market analysis and positioning and validation of my business, of my project within the market. The launch of new product and services, or idea testing, because I can have a direct feedback from people if they are liking the product that I want to create, or if they are interested in, I don't know, some kind of new services that I want to provide to my community. Search for partners with complementary skills, because I have to do some kind of stakeholder map before of the crowdfunding campaign, and in this stakeholder map I can find someone who has the same idea as me, and so we can collaborate in order to deliver the project. But I can also realize that maybe I don't have resources. Maybe my team is not able to do a communication strategy, so I have to look for someone who can do the work and support me during all the process of the crowdfunding campaign. Wide network of investors and shareholders, because we are using internet, so our visibility is broader related compared to if I'm just applying for the European project. Community of potential customers and visibility, so what I already said, and detecting and resolving errors, because it doesn't mean that if I run one crowdfunding campaign and it was a completely failure, this means that I cannot use any more crowdfunding campaign. I remember someone that before said that a friend of her or him just ran a 2 crowdfunding campaign, and one was a successful one, but the other one wasn't. So I will move on to the crowdfunding campaign phases and characteristics, which is basically we are going more in deep in what our crowdfunding campaign is and what you as project owner, if tomorrow you want to run your own crowdfunding campaign in one of the models that we see before, have to consider and have to do in order to have a successful crowdfunding campaign. Okay, we have 3 main phases: the planning phase, the implementation phase, and the follow-up phase. Can I ask you, Oliver, if you can tell me the hours, because I'm not... Half past, perfect. Okay, we have these 3 phases, and of course, each phase has a different intensity or an effort in terms of resources and time. The planning phase is usually the longest one, then the implementation phase, and at the end the follow-up phase. Now we will see there more in the specific, and I want to give you some tips on how to approach to each phase. Okay, what are the key elements of the pre-campaign phase? Is the description of the idea and the development of a business plan that you have always have before starting your own crowdfunding campaign. And then I will give you some suggestion on how to do it. Identify the financial goal and the budget. So how many money do I need to realize my project, but also how much can I use of my initial budget to invest in a crowdfunding campaign? Because as we saw before, there are different models, and based on the models that you choose, you have to consider the initial amount of money that you have within your organization. A market research and benchmark activities, because if I want to run a crowdfunding campaign and I am, I don't know, an NGO or a startup, I don't know anything about crowdfunding. I have to do some market research. I have to know how a crowdfunding campaign appears on the platform. I have to know what crowdfunding campaign already exists, why someone should donate to mine or should support mine instead of another one, and you have to find all this information through market research for businesses, but also benchmarking activities. In fact, if you want ever run a crowdfunding campaign, I suggest to you to go on crowdfunding platform, look at what type of models you can, they can fit better with your ideas, and then see what the others have already done. Because from the others campaign, I can, of course, learn what I have to do, but I can also understand what I don't have to do. Clarify legal issue. This is super important because you have to be aware on which kind of legal framework you are moving on, and on which kind of tax system you have to run your campaign. Team building and distribution of tasks. It has to be clear to everyone which is the main task that he has during all the campaign, but also you have to prepare your team and find someone who can do what maybe you are not able to do, like posting on social media, like speak with stakeholders, like, I don't know, answer to all those who are interested in your project, but maybe they don't know what crowdfunding is, so they don't trust you or your project, but they don't trust crowdfunding, so maybe you can lose them, and just because they are not aware about the instrument. Set up a communication plan, because once the crowdfunding campaign is on the platform, you have to push the campaign itself in order to reach as people as possible, and you have to do it through communication activities. It's not the platform that does this work for you, but it's the project owner which is in charge of talk with the community to say, hey, my crowdfunding campaign, my project is online, go and check it, go and maybe share if you can, and building some kind of aware also within the community itself. Identify the community, the stakeholders, and the target group, and we will see later also this. How can I do it? How can I set a communication strategy? How can I reach new stakeholders? Or how should I identify target group? Who are this target group? And then prepare campaign pitch and contents, because as I said before, when your campaign is online, you have to keep in mind that it's just a communication activity to do in order to reach your community, to reach your target groups. So, how to identify a crowdfunding model? We saw that we had different crowdfunding models: lending, equity, reward, donation. But if I have an idea, I need funds. What happens if I choose the wrong financial model? I won't get the money, for sure. Because if I publish, I don't know, the crowdfunding project for, I don't know, the integration of immigrants in the labor market, and I decide to publish this kind of campaign into an equity crowdfunding platform, or if I choose for this project an equity crowdfunding model, I won't gain any kind of money, because as we saw before, there are different models, but they are well defined. So I have to work staying on the elements that I said to you before. So to choose the right crowdfunding model, we have to consider the type of enterprises that we are. So if I am a startup, if I'm a small or medium enterprise, if I'm a no-profit organization, if I'm a person, because if I want to raise funds for me, because I want to study, I don't know, abroad in the USA, and I don't have money to pay my study, I can also be a person. I will choose the donation model. We have to consider the funding goal, so how much money I need, because as we saw before, to each model, the amount that can be raised is different. The amount of initial capital that I have to put into my project, but also into my crowdfunding campaign, and the community of reference that I mapped for my project. How to identify a crowdfunding platform? We have a lot of things to consider before choosing the right platform. I have to consider the crowdfunding and investment model. So, as you can understand, we first choose the crowdfunding model and then we pick the crowdfunding platform. The payment system, so how the crowdfunding platform move the money from the investors or backers' pocket to mine. The cost structure of the platform, which could be different from one platform to another. Usually, platforms ask for you to pay or a fixed price at the beginning of your campaign. So you have to, I don't know, pay, I'm saying like this, 200 euro to have your crowdfunding campaign published on my platform. Or you could have a success rate cost structure where the platform asks you to pay a percentage which is applied on your funding goal. So if you have as funding goal 20,000 euro and the success rate is the 5%, okay, the 5% will be applied on the 20,000 euro just if you will reach your funding goal. So if you don't reach your funding goal and your campaign didn't have success, you just don't need to pay anything. And then you have to consider, of course, the platform services quality. A lot of platforms are ranked in ranking, and they usually work like this. I can see if a crowdfunding platform is working well based on how many successful crowdfunding campaign he has on its platform, of course. And I have to consider also the geographical coverage of the crowdfunding platform, because if I'm running a local project, maybe it could be dispersive to publish my my project on a national crowdfunding platform, as well as the opposite. The platform size and success index, as I said before. The platform focus, I can choose between journalistic platform or specialistic platform, and usually on the journalistic one you can find all type of project in every field, while the specialistic one are more focused on some topic like environment, like social responsibility, like I don't know, social inclusion, and the usability and design, of course, of the platform, because it's important as well. We now move on to the second phase of the crowdfunding campaign, and which is the implementation phase, where the crowdfunding campaign is online. So the first phase that we saw, and all the things that I just say to you, you have to do them before your crowdfunding campaign is online. Then now we are moving to the campaigning, which is where you have to do all the pre-launch communication activity. Because maybe we are here and I want to launch my crowdfunding campaign with 1 month. I cannot start telling to people that my campaign is online the first day that my campaign is online. Because maybe half of them, they don't know neither what crowdfunding is. So I have to explain to them that I'm doing this kind of project, that I need this kind of resources, and then I want to run for this a crowdfunding campaign. And then explain what's crowdfunding, how it works, why you should donate, what are my motivation, in how long I need to implement my project, and so on. So if you start doing this, the moment that your crowdfunding campaign is online, you will probably lose half of the time of your campaign to raise the fund that you need. Activate all the available communication channels. So if you have a website, if you have social media pages, you have to activate them all, saying to your audience that you mapped in the pre-campaigning phase that in 1 week, in 2 weeks, your campaign will be online, and trying to start activating them in order to get ready. We suggest to do also a kickoff event if you can do it, and a lot of communication and sharing activity, because you have to keep the community involved and engaged to the whole time that your crowdfunding campaign is online. And so update social media and website, answer to questions, because if they need support, it's like when I go to buy something and no one is in the shop, maybe I won't buy anything because nobody asked, or when I asked something, nobody answered me, and so I said, okay, I go away, or I go to some other project to fund another one. Monitoring the campaign in progress, because of course if you are in the middle of your campaign period and you didn't reach what you expected to do, you have time to do some adjustment through the communication activities, pushing the campaign on your channels. Send reminders and share updates on the campaign. Also thank a lot. Also just to say thank you, we have already raised half of the money we needed. Just to, to let them that you are continuing working on it. And do not miss the information request, as I said before. Let's see how to identify and engage the crowd. So we have 2 phases: the identification of the target group. Who are target group? Target group are the people who are close to me, like family and friends, and I easily reach them through, I can call them and I said, in 2 weeks I'm going to run my own campaign, so let's get ready. They are peers, which is the contact of your contact. And then you can also think about reach some amplifiers who will push in a different way, of course, your campaign, because if I decide to pay some influencer to just do more visibility to my crowdfunding campaign, you can do it. You have to consider the cost, but of course you can do it. And then a second phase, after I identified them, I have to think about how to get in touch with them. So I probably will use messages to my family and friends, or call. I maybe can send emails to peer. I can chat with the amplifiers on Instagram if they are active on Instagram, or on LinkedIn, on Facebook. But you have to pick the right communication channel in order to reach your group. Because if I send an email to my dad saying, hey, I'm launching a crowdfunding campaign, will you support me? My dad just knock at my door and say, why did you text me through an email? You just should say it. So be aware that for each channel you have to, for each target group, you have to use the right channel, the right communication channel. I don't know if my time is, okay, perfect. So, do you have any question or I can move on? Yeah, one question. I'm super happy to answer. One moment.
Thank you. I'm the first to ask a question, I think.
Yeah,
but we should start from somewhere.
Hope that
George Zasonitis from Insular.
Hope that you will give the example.
Yeah. George Zasonitis is my name from Insular. Is the network of institutional chambers of the European Union. We are a partner of the project. My question is a rather basic question concerning the previous presentation.
Yeah? Okay.
I would like to know which are the difference between, let's say, the crowdfunding schemes and other financial crowd schemes like, let's say, cooperatives. We have, in Cyprus there are a lot of cooperatives, especially in banks. They have cooperative banks. Okay. You used to have, yes. But anyway, all banks now are in problems. Or other schemes like, let's say, the energy communities.
Okay.
Which are now a trend. Which exist everywhere in Europe, especially in Denmark. And I'm putting this question not for academic reasons. I put this question because as, let's say, chambers, we have to drive, let's say, some people, entrepreneurs, startups, etc., to which of these, schemes they have to go.
Okay. But can I ask you if you want to run a crowdfunding campaign as consortium or if you want to sustain through your money crowdfunding project? Which is different.
Me not. I don't.
Yeah, no. Because these kind of schemes are match funding schemes, which means that you have a private or a public budget that you can spend into crowdfunding projects, that they will match the amount of money that you or that an organization can raise through crowdfunding. So a project needs 50k euro. They are able to raise 20k euros through crowdfunding. I will put the remaining part, so the other 30k. Okay? And I can do it at the end of the campaign, at the beginning of the campaign, to support them in between, or like 50-50. But, yeah.
No. I speak about pure, let's say, private crowdfunding. Let's say sometime in Creta,
okay,
some years ago, they created, let's say, some company of, it's a prototype, let's say. Yes, it was on popular basis, the name. I don't know if I... So this was also a financial scheme. They bought, 3-4 ships to do, especially Piraeus to Creta. Okay. But it was a popular, let's say, a lot of people participated with shares in this kind of
yeah,
company.
So they were different actors. We were running together the crowdfunding campaign. Right?
Not different actors, physical persons.
No, the transition is the same. It's just that you have to define to whom will the money go. I mean, if me and you running our, yeah.
Can you go upstairs to the microphone?
Yeah, sure. No, don't worry. worry.
So I think that the idea, if I understand correctly, your question was what is the difference between the form of finance, so crowdfunding, and other types of form of finance, for example, a cooperative. Is that correct? No. Because we're really trying to interpret, are you asking to which form of fundraising you should direct a company?
Yes.
Okay, so that is the question that was posed. The idea is it depends on what the final objective of the company is, I believe. So, because if you decide to be involved in a cooperative, you are aiming for a very long-term objective of cooperating with a number of other companies, of contributing with your means to the achievement of an overall objective. And then at the end of the year, if there is potential profits to be redistributed, you will enjoy part of those. But it's a completely different philosophy if you compare it with any type of crowdfunding. Because if you think of donation, you have zero intention of partnering with your supporters. You just want their money. Reward, it's more or less the same, except you can also use it to pre-sell your product. So you're not just taking the money, you're also taking their feedback towards your product. And then equity and lending, we have discussed it, so it's really different philosophy. The other thing is there are synergies between these different forms, and in fact, we have been and are still continuing as EUROCROWD to work with both the cooperative sector. We have worked since I was at EUROCROWD, so since 2015 at least, but I'm guessing even before, in a European project with European Association for Cooperatives in the energy efficiency sector or the renewable energy sector. So it has been something that we have been studying since a long time. We're continuing to study, and actually on energy communities, we do have another ongoing European project. So there are differences that allow us to say, okay, this is one thing, this is another thing, and they are used, let's say, you indicate which one could be best for a company according to the objectives of the company, not to the structure of the instrument. But of course, this can be, there can be complementarities, synergies, ways to make these things work together. And later this afternoon, I think that we will explore some. For example, we will explore how to combine this with the financial instruments in the cohesion policy regulations and resources. But there's many different ways of combining this. So I hope that it was not just a rant and that I have provided you with a reply, but should this not be the case, I'm happy to then continue.
Thank you, thank you.
Sorry, Elisa.
No, don't worry. Of course, and if there are any other questions, just them.
Ideas are concerned. I mean, do I have to have only an innovative idea in order to get to use a platform, or I just have some idea, for example, to gather some money for a car accident that I had. Okay. I don't have money for compensating, and I'm aiming something like that.
Okay, no, there are no limitations. Of course, as we saw, there are some, guidelines that you have to move within when you are thinking about your project and you are thinking about which platform to choose and which model. Sometimes, but most of the times, crowdfunding platform do some kind of selection of project, and you have, of course, to be compliant with the requirements that they ask. For example, in the equity and lending platform, they usually ask to project owner to present a business plan, to present a revenue plan, to give to them some documentation that can attest that the business will be well implemented, can grow, can be realized. But no, there are no limitation that if you don't have an innovation project, you cannot run a crowdfunding campaign in this or in that model.
But when you say documentation, what kind of documentation? I mean,
accommodation. Sorry.
Documentation. You said documentation. Some documents. I have to
okay,
prove
like
my...
like the business plan, like
okay.
a description of what kind of organization you are, what are your revenue if you have, or if you do not have, what will be your revenue plan. So what you want to get money through what? Okay, so selling my product, or like delivering services, or like creating new product. Okay. But that's just for primarily for startup and small and medium enterprise, because if we are talking about donation and reward, you don't have to present this kind of documentation. Okay, you just have to describe the project. You just have to describe why you need this amount of money, how you will use them, and so on. But it's not that you said, I have to think about an innovation project in, I don't know, energy efficiency sector, otherwise you cannot run a crowdfunding campaign.
Okay, so it depends on what model I'm using.
Yeah, and also the requirements that the platform put before the project selection. So, but they are you can easily ask them to the crowdfunding platform that you mapped. You can ask to them which type of requirement they want to the project, the platform cost structure, because you have also to consider it before choosing one or another, and that's it. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Nothing. There's some others? I don't think so. Okay. So let's continue. I will briefly give you an overview on what we will see together after the lunch break. We will go in deep analyzing the last phase of the crowdfunding campaign, which is the follow-up phase. And I will give you some tips and tricks about how to communicate properly with the crowd and how to keep the contact with them. Because if I ran my crowdfunding campaign, I raised the amount of money that I needed, I developed my project, I realized it, and everything is done, this doesn't mean that I cannot think about running another crowdfunding campaign. So I have to keep the contact open to my community, just because I don't have to exclude that maybe tomorrow, maybe in 1 week, maybe in 1 year, or in 10 years, I will need again money, and maybe I can ask them. Then we will see some useful tools that you could use in all the phases, in the planning phases, implementation, and follow-up ones. And I will present to you the slide that you will have that Blue Crowdfunding project delivered to the training course. Of course, I tried to synthesize, to schematize all the concepts, but you will find they are like guiding lines, in order that if tomorrow you want to do it by yourself, you have just to check all the things that are inside these slides, and you will be fully prepared to do a crowdfunding campaign. And then we will shortly see the training methodology, which is if tomorrow you want to deliver trainings on crowdfunding because you run so much campaign and you're becoming an expert, and you want to let the others know what is crowdfunding and how they can use it and how they can run their own crowdfunding campaign, we will see what is needed to do it. And I'm not going more in deep with the presentation. We just will see tomorrow. I don't know if Oliver, you want to take the stage again, or if I just enjoy your lunch.